So we now have a trilogy. This is episode 3 of Hooked on Drupal, and today is Wednesday, November 19th, which is about 1 month since we started this whole thing. I'm just going to set the stage a little bit. These two gentlemen here, Chris Keller. I am Shane Sieva. I'm the marketing director. Somebody actually online made a comment on one of our videos that I have never introduced myself.
Oh, they don't know who you are.
Yeah, and I thought as the consummate host, it was just obvious who I was, and we did title it.
Because I don't know that I know you. Like, could you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, see, now you're putting me in an uncomfortable position. I love asking questions of Brad Czerniak, but answering Brad's questions, okay. So I am a slight open source veteran. I've been working with open source software since maybe 2007-ish, 6, 5, let's say 2005. I started on Mambo when it imploded and there was a coup d'etat. It turned into the commercial fork in Joomla, and I was like, I want to be with who are the good people, the proletariats, or who are the people who are fighting the power?
I got
in real
nothing
Marxian.
there. Yeah,
You're supposed to know these things.
Yeah,
There was an uprising.
You're the
Brad.
go-to guy for that sort of thing.
I think the bourgeoisie is the rich people and the proletariat are the. But I could be wrong on that. I don't want to have that on camera. Me being wrong.
That would be very embarrassing. Anyway, I felt a close connection to the people that wanted to democratize the technology into Joomla land. And I ran with it, started making websites, lost my job in 2008, started my own company, met Alex here for breakfast, and was like, oh my gosh, people are able to like make a living at this. I think I can do it. I worked for a college for a few years, and then I came here to Hot Drupal, which I'm having a really great time. And we got our first lead off of the podcast.
That's exciting.
Last week. Someone watched and was really taken in by our approach to handling Drupal-geddon.
You know, and that kind of speaks to something about this podcast. Is the first thing that might occur to you from that is like, wow, we should really step up the professionalism that occurs on this podcast. But do what works, and obviously, if we brought in leads, then
yeah, I did have that thought for a moment that perhaps we have an audience that requires a certain presentation. But, yeah, I mean, I think we're like Kanye, right? Like, I mean, someone has to do it this way.
Okay.
And now
I don't get the reference, but
we're showing everybody what they didn't know they want.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So anyway, we're moving right along because today's episode, you two gentlemen have been presented as friends and fellow cosmonauts in previous episodes.
Yeah, it looks that way from the outside, but in here
and the inside.
And I guess we get along pretty well. But there are a few things that we disagree on in life.
It's true. Yeah.
The most important one. It's hard to say. But I would say Miracle Whip versus mayonnaise.
That's true.
Might be the most important one.
It's very divisive.
Myself, I don't skip the zip ever. So, I mean, that's the only reason that I have for picking Miracle Whip over mayonnaise.
Right, and I can appreciate the tangy zip, and that's the thing. It's like we have the disagreements, but we try to be accommodating. So, I mean, given the choice between no condiment and Miracle Whip, I'll pick Miracle Whip. But given the choice between mayonnaise and Miracle Whip, I would pick mayonnaise 99% of the time.
Now help me out here just a little bit, because I haven't spent a lot of time making this distinction, but is Miracle Whip that's the fabricated material? Like, we don't really know what it's made out of? Where does it's a space
kind of
age?
mystery.
Okay.
Although I think it's very similar. To mayonnaise as far as the ingredients go.
But does it come out of natural? Like, where does mayonnaise come? Does it come from the cows, or how do you get
soybeans?
Soybeans.
I think mayonnaise is really a simple French sauce consisting of eggs and some other stuff.
Because you can make
It's
it
mostly
yourself,
eggs,
right?
I
Like,
think, yeah.
because mayonnaise is something that you could make out of
You could
eggs.
make it,
Okay,
right.
but Miracle Whip, this is like you have to have
I think
space
it's
age
mayonnaise
technology,
with
right?
vinegar. I don't know. That's what it tastes like.
Okay,
I don't know.
And it
yeah.
Okay, so,
enough
but-
of that.
that is one major distinction.
Yeah,
Moving right along.
Another one would be Van Halen lead singers,
Mhm.
and I fall firmly in the David Lee Roth camp. And he isn't actually a particular Van Halen fan,
Right.
but he
Yeah,
has the Hagar.
The reason I fall in the Hagar camp is because there's far less Van Halen songs with Sammy Hagar, so there's not as much bad music. So I don't like Van Halen at all, but
And neither of you Van Hagar.
Van Hagar.
Well,
No,
That's
mine.
you.
Yeah, that's me.
That's you.
Yeah.
You're Van Hagar.
Yeah.
Okay.
I fall firmly in the David Lee Roth camp.
Okay.
That's
Also a major distinction, and I can see how this would bleed over into the rest of your lives, especially on a technical level. But you may have other anecdotal differences to present before we let you fight.
Oh,
pizza shape.
pizza shape. And I think that's
Was that the
the third
three?
major one.
There wasn't one more.
And what are the pizza shape options? Just to get that out.
I'm a square pizza kind of guy.
Okay.
I like triangular.
Trying. Okay. Or star crust.
I'm a round pizza fan.
Okay.
Because there is a Detroit style pizza that people may not know about.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about this, because I'm a huge fan of Pizza Popolis, but I can only do it like once, maybe twice a year.
Yeah,
Right,
it's a thick
It's
crust.
powerful.
It's a thick
But
crust.
I
pizza.
thought
It's a
that was a
Chicago
Chicago.
style.
Chicago style
So-
with sauce on the top.
And New
Yeah.
York is the real skinny, fold
Really
them up.
thin, yeah.
Yeah.
So Detroit style, you take a cast iron pan, and that you basically burn the shit out of the crust. Oh, burn the
Well, yeah.
You can say that.
Yeah. Do the little
We-
blur my face thing.
We haven't rated the show yet,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so we're still trying to figure out what our target audience market.
Yeah, but you burn the crust,
Yeah.
and then it's a square or a rectangle, and then it's very sauce heavy, but it's not like a lot of sauce. It's just the proportion of sauce to cheese is usually on the sauce side of things. I'm not a big sauce fan in the first place. I'd rather just have like cheese on bread.
Does Buddy's?
Buddy's is Detroit style.
See,
pizza, and it's really good.
And I hate it for all those reasons that you just
So
described.
good. Yeah, it's my favorite.
There's no sauce. Like it really is just it's a cheese stick, which is okay.
Well, there's sauce on the top.
I
It's
can't
good.
find it.
It's on the top. It's right there.
All right. No, you're not gonna convince me.
All right. On to actual disagreements
See, the
about.
thing is, I'll eat square pizza if it's there. I'll eat anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never gonna turn down a pizza. I mean,
But if
Yeah.
you put a square pizza and a round pizza, then I'm going to eat two pieces of round pizza before I even think about getting one piece of a square.
And that works out well. 'Cause then we both get the pizza that we want.
Right, because that's what we always do is we order like 9 different kinds of pizza.
Yeah.
Then we more or less, Chris and I go for it, and everybody else in the office is like, I'll take a piece, and then they have their one piece, and that's it.
I think I ate 6 pieces of pizza last time we ordered pizza. That's bad.
There was about a half-hour mark where the Hulu episode that we were watching was turning over, and everybody's like, I'm going to go mosey back to my chair, and we were like,
Let's get
there's
more
still
pizza.
some pizza.
and so you guys finish off if you ever been to the pizza bar at Pizza Hut, is that something?
Yeah, I don't frequent Pizza Hut too often.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
want hepatitis.
I don't know. They're our sponsor for
Sorry.
this episode.
Right.
Oh man. Oh,
Okay.
we've really done it now.
Now we'll see if we can strike that from the record as well.
But do you want to start over? Do you want to start the podcast?
Yeah, let's begin again.
All right.
And let's take me down the technical path of where So I think it's pretty obvious to the viewer now who's on which side of the line and everything. I mean, they could probably paint a picture: Ford, Chevy,
Yep.
whatever,
Yep.
between the Pepsi, Coke. They'd know.
Right, wrong.
Exactly. So once we get into your technical and professional lives, the rift gets even deeper,
Right.
wider, right?
Right. So the main disagreement we have in the technical world would be CSS preprocessors.
That is
Um, so Brad is very anti CSS preprocessor, and I use them constantly. So I guess you can explain why you don't like them.
I'm glad you said it. Sure. I
Man,
would love to.
what a setup, man! Playing t-ball.
So if you look at the different constructs that are available in the CSS preprocessor, there's variables and nesting and functions and mix-ins and all these different things. And I contend that the usage of any of those leads to a bad output product. That the perceived workflow benefits that people get from CSS preprocessors are illusory in the sense that setting up variables and then using them is 2 steps, whereas just setting a property is 1 step. And having to go back and change the variables means 2 more steps. So it's always your 1 step behind somebody who's writing just plain CSS. So there are plenty of reasons, but it comes down to a false sense of productivity and bad output product.
Wow, that's a lot of psychology that he's dropping. I mean, basically saying people are self-deluded who use this technology. He's talking about you, I think.
He is talking about me.
Now, Chris writes really good preprocessed CSS. Everybody else does it poorly.
Oh, wow, what a
He's
caveat.
just saying that because he's sitting next to me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gloves are off, guys. I just want you to know.
So
Okay.
the output, the CSS that it does output is probably not as good as Brad's, by hand code. But I think you can write bad CSS as well. I think you can write good Sass or less, and the output isn't probably as bad. I think it does save me a lot of time, like with variables, and the nesting looks a lot cleaner to me than just a regular CSS file does. So I only really use variables and nesting, and I use mix-ins sometimes for reusable stuff. The variables are nice. Like if the client wants to change the color all of a sudden, instead of having to do a find and replace and replacing that color everywhere, and it might change things that you don't want to change, you can just change the variable value. Stuff like that is really nice.
Now that was a very calm rebuttal. Counterpoint?
Yeah, a quick counterpoint on that is that if a client wants to change a color, it's not always like, I want to change this color and have it universally applied. And so you're setting that variable multiple times. And so you might as well just set it in the individual places that it goes, because they want, I want the top blue to be lighter, but they don't want that blue to change in other places. And so now you're forking the variable and having to set new ones and things.
Sure.
So client expectations are never that straightforward to the point where you get a productivity gain from setting variables that way.
Right. If we had something like a style guide with a primary and secondary color on it, and they wanted to change one of those colors, is more what I'm talking about, not just a color in the header.
So, and I'd love to chime in whenever I can. My experience was working with a lot of template club templates for Joomla. They started everything with hard-coded CSS, but then recently, in the last couple of years, they all switched to preprocessors nonetheless. It makes a lot of sense as a template company to make one template that all of these middlemen can quickly go through, change the primary, secondary colors, headers, and then you have one interface that you get used to, and you can do that for all of your clients. Like, I found it quicker, but if I was doing something from scratch as a custom build, I'd probably rather write it out.
Yeah, and Brad's been doing front-end programming a lot longer than I have. So when I started doing CSS is when the preprocessors first came out, and I was like, whoa, this makes my life a lot easier, so I kind of just got hooked on them, and now it's actually annoying to me to write regular CSS.
Yeah.
It seems like writing out all the selectors and everything just seems really annoying to me.
Right. And there was usually like 10 things that I always wanted to get at and adjust.
Mhm.
You know, right off the bat. And if I did that, a lot of my template was dialed in, and then I come in and write just a couple lines of custom to override.
Well, I mean, I've got that in plain CSS for the most part. Is like I'll start a new project more or less based on the previous project, and it's got like a lot of the nodes and a lot of the things that Drupal kind of outputs, plus the main target level elements. So, paragraphs are going to have 1.5 EMs of margin, top and bottom. Like I know that's going to be the case, so I drop this thing in. Buttons work out of the box, everything's there. So it's like you can do a lot of the same things that you can do with a preprocessor with plain CSS, and my style sheets never really break like 1,500 lines, and I try to aim for fewer than that. So I think if you have a project where it seems like a CSS preprocessor is a good idea, it's probably not architected in a modular fashion. So like a lot of the kind of styles out there for CSS, so like BEM and SMAX and even OOCSS, which is kind of getting outdated. All of these methods kind of fly in the face of what a preprocessor lets you do. So I don't know. It seems to me like you get like if you know what the file that's going to be output's going to be, rather than relying on a preprocessor to write it, you're more likely to end up with a efficient, good output product.
And we have compared these preprocessors to something like CoffeeScript, which we both share a hatred for kind of unknown reasons, but we just don't use it because we know how to do JavaScript and we don't see why you would. So I kind of get it there, but it's just something I've gotten used to.
Sure.
All right. Well, that was actually quite amicable. Your ending there. I was hoping for more
Fist fighting. And
throat grabbing and clawing. So can we find something more volatile? What else do you guys got?
With me, I'm going to end every conversation that way. That's just how I do
Oh,
it.
it's
So
kind
you're
of
going to
like
need to get a new person on the show.
like a
if you
judo
want
move
fighting.
where you're just like, oh, it's fine. Come on in.
Right.
And then,
So I'm going to be able to pull that off.
I understand
I'm
your
sorry.
tactic. You don't need to.
Sorry.
You don't need to explain. Okay. So what else you got? I understand that's a pretty deep riff, and you guys have a hard time working next to each other. That's why you put Dan in between the two of you.
Yeah, it's to prevent
To keep
fighting.
Yeah.
And also because we both like Dan so much that it wasn't fair to have him on one end of the
Tight team. Yeah.
Well, I don't know that we particularly disagree, but one thing that I brought up at lunch yesterday was responsive images. It didn't really sound like.
Yeah, I don't really have a great opinion on that. Like if you're you like the idea on a responsive website of showing everything that's on the desktop site, right?
Right, and
so whatever appears on the desktop shows on the mobile site.
Yeah, it would be styled to be ideal for the viewport size.
Okay, I'm more in the I like to hide things sometimes if they don't lend toward the user experience on the mobile device. Like a slideshow is usually just garbage on a slide or on a mobile device. It's usually garbage on a desktop site as well. But
I saw a quick aside. I saw a website that was totally dedicated to ending slideshows.
We send that to Andy once every month or so.
Yeah.
Because slideshows are the blink tag of the 2000s.
No, they're quite that bad. They're getting there, yeah.
Yeah, I agree about there's a certain point where slideshows. It really depends on the nature of the slideshow, but there's a certain point where it's just like, yeah, I'm just going to hide that with CSS.
Yeah.
For the most part, if it's information or it's a workflow that somebody can do on a desktop site, and then they go to the site on their phone and they can't find it, or they can't do or see or read something that was there. That's a potential point of frustration. And considering that people do all kinds of whacked out stuff on their phones and tablets, inhibiting any sort of thing like that doesn't seem like it's just kind of alienating a user base that you could have. So I try to make it so that people can accomplish all the same things they can.
Does some of this come down to, could you reframe the difference of opinion in mobile first or desktop first? Is that fair?
Kind of. I mean, if you design from a mobile first perspective, then
The desktop is a bunch of
everything's
cherries
already
on the
there.
top, like,
Yeah.
oh, you get to see the
well, I mean,
3,000 pixel
there's a
version.
lot of websites that are, using the mobile menu even on their desktop sites now.
Right.
Like I think American Express just did that, and it looks pretty cool. Yeah,
People know what the hamburger thing is.
Yeah, they get it now, and you can use it on the desktop site, so there's not a big of a change when you go.
I think when it comes to responsive design and a lot of things, there were these ways of explaining things that were helpful to get everybody on the same page, but that they're kind of irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. And thinking of stuff as desktop first or mobile first is one of those. So it's not that mobile or desktop is the way to think of things. It's you've got a viewport size and you've got either a touch screen or a mouse and keyboard. But these are just like you could have a very large touch screen and you're going to want to have much larger interface elements so that people can touch them. So for all those like ultrabooks and things that have touch screens, designing for the touch screen is more important than it being considered a desktop.
Mm. And then you got people like me. I have, I navigate all my websites with Oculus Rift, and I go into a 3D universe and fly to each menu.
To each button. Yeah, jump from button to button. Can you jump?
You can do a super jump. So you do need to accommodate users like me as well.
You have to be very forward thinking.
Right. So I want, a complete 3D universe to explore.
Our sites don't work very well on watches yet.
No, or TVs. Those are both places that we can kind of be jokey about it, but they're
it's real. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think a television is much different than a desktop display at this
If it's
point?
a 4K television, then they have there's a lot of real estate there.
Well, a lot of things that CSS media queries, you can say media all or media print.
Sure.
One of those is like TV or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you can target an interface where somebody's using a remote control or using their phone to work on a much larger screen or do things like that. And I think that Google and probably Apple are both working on building out that interface.
Right.
And it's going to come to the point where a year or two from now, we're going to be adding CSS media queries specifically for television.
So Apple TV, that doesn't really have a browser in it, does it?
I think it does.
It does? It has a real web browser?
I don't know. I don't have an Apple TV.
I do. Whenever I'm just thinking, I always push my desktop up there if I want to do browsing. Otherwise, it's app-based. And I haven't used a Roku, but some friends of mine have an LG or a Samsung television. They have television browsers. I don't even know what they're based on.
Yeah. Google went the route with the Chromecast of just this is a way to push stuff up to your TV rather than making the TV the interface device. So maybe I'm off base, and what's really going to happen is they're going to make it easier and easier to use your laptop.
Kind of weird sci-fi.
I think that there's an ethical obligation there to make sure that any device or any user on any device, not just someone with a really fast internet connection or a really high resolution screen, can see any image at their option. So linking, if you're going to use a responsive image technique, linking to a full-size file is part of your responsibility. And what I think was that a lot of work went into the picture element and source set and all those things, but that it may have been misguided. What I think would be the ideal solution would be image formats like progressive JPEG coupled with the browser giving users an option through a context menu to stop and start at a particular percentage of quality. So like if you're on a 3G connection and you have a device that is like a Retina, then you can set it to when you're on 3G to only load up to 45%. And if you're on a Wi-Fi connection, then you might get 100% or 85 or something. And then you can hold your thumb over the image. The context menu pops up and says, load full quality, and you get the full quality image. And that way, the user's deciding the quality of the image rather than being served something that they may not want.
From the Apple user perspective, we don't want to make any choices. Like the device should figure everything out for us and just give us the most magical, fun experience.
Well, yeah, and this
possible.
This is automatic, and it's hiding something in the context menu system, which isn't something that's really particularly used on mobile devices. So it's like the settings would be set it and forget it, but you have the option to get the full quality.
To go, yeah.
And one of the big selling points with progressive JPEGs is one, it's an existing format that works with legacy browsers, and it can load up and you see something immediately, rather than with a regular JPEG format or with a PNG or whatever. You have to wait until the entire image is loaded until so there's a lot of good selling points for using progressive rather than going the other way. So that's just my take on it.
Videos seem to go that way. Like when you're on YouTube, you pick the quality, and
Right.
it buffers. It doesn't load the whole video and then start playing it. So.
Yeah, and you get a quality choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay.
Sorry again.
Okay, I mean, I'm out here. I mean, apparently, every image now I have to push that button and decide, which one I want. Which
You only have to push
seems
the
like
button
a
if
lot
you
of
want
work.
a different one.
Well, and here's a wild idea that I had that goes along with this, is you can kind of tie it to the alt attribute of an image. So if the alt attribute is empty, then it's purely decorative and you can have the quality be lower. If it has a description in it, then you can up the quality because you know that it's an important
it's
part
a
of the
primary
content.
image, yeah.
So that's just one kind of signal that this algorithm that is based on progressive images would
Sure.
work with. So that's
And
not that I've given this
interfaces,
much
Of course, that doesn't sound like it.
interfaces are becoming more CSS described and vector based. Is that true? I feel that's happening. Like buttons are becoming vectorized.
Yeah, part of that, we still have one legacy browser that we routinely support, which would be IE8, and it's not great with with SVGs. So I think the last time I checked on a site that has higher than normal usage of IE8 was still getting about 7%. So whenever that dips below 5, then yeah, I think it'll be a free for all when it comes to SVGs, and it'll be real nice.
All right. Well, so those are three distinct areas of contention. I think we've fleshed out all of the struggle in your daily friendship.
It's rough.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I'm
We get
proud of
through
you
it.
guys
We
for
get through it.
sticking it out. You know, I mean, this isn't psychotherapy. You know, I mean, it just builds on the therapy you guys have already been working through. So I see a lot of
Did
progress.
you guys have any good dreams or wake-up songs this past evening?
I haven't had wake up songs for about a week, and I'm starting to worry about myself a little.
Now, our immense viewing audience may not be aware of what you're speaking
What a
of.
wake up song
Yeah.
is. Oh, it's when you wake up from sleeping. It's usually what you wake up from. And there's a song playing in your head over and over. Usually the chorus, just over and over, and you can't stop it.
Okay.
So we all have that happen to us a lot.
Yeah. What's great about wake-up songs is often it's like some song that you hadn't even thought of in your waking life for years, and all of a sudden you're like, you know, how did Scatman get into my head?
Get out of my head, Scatman.
Scatman, dude, I'm not familiar with that. And Chris, you've had some recent, and I've seen you guys trade.
Yeah, we
music
kind of have a
videos.
Google chat thread for the whole office where we paste in a YouTube video of our wake up song.
Yeah, we don't really use that thread for business. It's
Right.
just wake-up songs.
Yeah.
And I want to participate, but I'm gonna have to lie.
Well, the last one you showed us was a little.
That was a lie.
Oh, you just lied.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you the video. Right?
Sure, and that's cool.
That's fine. You don't have to tell us that you lied. You can just
Okay.
keep that a secret.
No.
Now we're not going to trust your
Lies
next wake
don't
up
work
song.
when you tell people the truth. Okay.
So yeah.
All right.
That
Well,
was really rounded out nice.
yeah. No, I think that's good, and we'll pick one of these, and that'll probably become.
We could
the intro
list
video.
them in the show notes, like a particular wake up song from last week or this week or something.
Right. And that's how you know that you're a healthy and active human being.
Yeah, that's why I'm starting to get worried about myself.
Right.
I haven't had one in a while.
Have you had taco recently? Late
Oh,
night
linkage.
tacos.
revelation.
All right. Well, I think that's episode 3. I feel really confident about this one. I'm guessing probably be able to shut down after this one goes live with the lead pool that's gonna come.
Yeah, I'm sure we won't
flowing
have
in.
time to do these. We'll be working so hard.
We
Yeah.
didn't have enough movie references or weird voices or.
Hmm.
There was no weird voices.
Well, we thought about one conversation we had was the Mozilla developer browser.
Yeah, I would like to talk about that maybe next time. We can.
Yeah, and I
talk
wanted to
about
work in
Mozilla and the mystery that it is.
Jurassic Park theme, and I
Yeah.
think you could do was it Goldberg? I think you could handle that
You
character
could
pretty
do the
well.
Samuel
Yeah.
L. Jackson.
I say hold on to your butts
Hold on to
a
your
lot.
butts. Yeah.
Often.
Yeah.
It's just part of the repertoire.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
We
well,
got something there.
very good. Boom. Peace. We're out, and we'll see you for episode 4.